Good morning. Could you please briefly introduce yourself and describe the work you've been doing in the context of this conference?
Okay, well, I'm Fintan Farrell and I'm Director of the European Anti-Poverty Network. And the European Anti-Poverty Network has been very engaged to this project leading to this conference. And we're a network which brings together and tries to build a strong organised voice for people experiencing poverty at the European level and also people who are concerned about social Europe. So we have a member in each country of the European Union, plus Norway, Iceland, Serbia and Fyrom. And we also have European organisation members who are working on the issues of poverty and social exclusion.
What, in your view, are the keys and guarantees for a fairer redistribution of resources in the society we're living in?
Well, at the moment I find it a bit hard to know what will guarantee it, because we're living through such enormous changes and the speed of change, it's quite hard to keep up with. So it's quite hard to know how change might happen and what sort of change is going to happen. So whether it will be very negative or very positive, it's difficult to predict. But I think for me first is that it's really important that we would trust and respect social knowledge. And social knowledge is developed with and by people with direct experience of poverty, with social NGOs and social movements, with social scientists and social practitioners. And I think that we should then be able to decide, with whatever budgets we're able to get for social policy, we should decide how to spend those budgets based on social knowledge rather than dictated to by a kind of a failed economic type of thinking. And so that's one thing that would help. Secondly, I think for us, we operate primarily in the European Union. So I think for us, it's very important that we avoid a European Union-centric view. So we need to think a little bit more globally. Because I think when you think globally, yesterday it was very interesting, the presentation from Ukraine. It really helps you to see what's happening in the world. When we've been working with organizations in India, so we know what's happening in India, which isn't the CNN view of what's happening in India, but the reality of the destruction of the environment, the reality that for 40% or more of the population, the reality is getting worse, the reality of how they're organizing to challenge that sort of system which is causing that. So I think we discovered that we have an unsustainable form of capitalism, and we need to really transform that system. And if we had good democracies, good functioning democracies now, they would be working for the transformation of that system in an orderly fashion. But I think our democratic systems now are too closely connected to this failed system. And so we need to build a base for a new democracy. And so I think that it's very important that we re-look to the local level, but with a much bigger vision for local action, not just small discussions, but a vision of social businesses, a vision of community businesses, a vision of community engagement and community control over resources that are available. And that would rebuild a base which is necessary for the sort of transformation that I see needed in the next period. And if that was to happen, then we could see a brighter future.
Where do you see, who are the key actors in the local communities driving the local change? And where do you see resistance coming from?
Well, I think already in the work, some of the work done for this project, you begin to see they're not revolutionary, they're not huge, but they're important transformations that are happening at local levels. You see new directions in social economy. You see some new directions in community businesses. You see some efforts to, like forum theatre methods, to try and make sure that people have their voices heard. So for me, I don't expect a big revolution. I see a million small evolutions which can help towards the sort of transformation that we have. And that is local people, that's people with direct experience of poverty themselves, taking control of their own lives. That is social movements and social NGOs. It is progressive local authorities. There's a whole range of different actors in different countries who are playing a role in this.
Do you see the purely economical, the strictly monetary paradigm we're living in today, do you see it diminishing in the future because of the rise of new alternative economies and new ways of sharing resources and providing for the needs? And do you think there will be a shift towards from this?
That's what I think is very hard to say. I mean, who are we? We're an organisation of people working on the ground, fighting poverty. This system, it's got hugely powerful allies. And you would imagine that, given the mess that it has created, you would imagine that they would be a bit apologetic about it. But instead, we have the Goldman Sachs running Greece, running Italy. And even if these are kind of type of reasonable approaches, reasonable people, it's amazing that, given the mess that they've made, that they now seem to be so ingrained in what's trying to find the solutions, but using the same ideas which got us into a mess. And so it's very hard to see that there's the power there to overthrow that. But one can only hope. And I think it will collapse eventually. And the question is, will that be a very, very big mess with a lot of people damaged in it? Or are we able to manage that transformation more orderly? And so will we eventually get the type of democracy, the type of democratic leadership that's needed to manage the transformation in a way that wouldn't cause such pain and hurt, like the sort of shock treatment that Greek people are experiencing now?
I thank you very much, and I am looking forward for your presentation later this day. Thank you.
Thank you very much.